Good morning, everyone. Today I am here with the third chapter of History, Class 12th, Kinship, Caste, and Class. In the previous two videos, we have already discussed about the Mahabharata, the critical edition of the Mahabharata, and the rules about the families, that means kinship, rules about patrilineal, it means descent from father to son. Then rules of marriages, in which we discuss about endogamy and exogamy. Then we talk about the Gotra's rule of for the women, in which uh, the women were expected to give up their father's gotra and adopt that of their husbands on marriage, and members of the same gotra could not marry. But in the exceptions case, like in Satavahanas, the queens who married Satavahana rulers indicate that many of them had their father's growth even after the marriages, and some of these queens belonged to the same Gotras. Were mother important in early societies? So, like in Satavahanas, the Satavahanas rulers were identified through matronymic. That means they were known through their mother's name. But in the case of the in the succession to the throne, it was generally patronage. Then we talk about the social differences within the beyond of the framework of the caste. That means in the Dharmashastras and Dharmashutras, uh, it contained rules about the ideal occupationals of the four categories of the Varnas, in which these Dharmashutras and Dharmashastras tell that Brahmins were supposed to study and teach the Vedas, Kshatris were engaged in warfare, the Vaishyas were engaged in agriculture, pastoralism, and trade, and the Shudras, they have to assign only one occupation, that of serving the three higher Varnas. The Brahmins evolved many strategies for enforcing right occupational norms. Then we talk about non-Kshatriyas king like Satavahanas. They were Brahmins. The Sanghas and the Kanvas, the immediate successor of the Mauryans, they were also Brahmins. And there is a hot debate among the Mauryans for the Mauryans, because some Brahminican texts told that they were of low caste, but Buddhist texts tell us that they were Kshatriya. It is also interestingly that the best known ruler of the Satvana dynasty, Gautami Putra Shri Satkani, claimed to be unique Brahmins and restorer of the pride of Kshatriya. Then we talk about the jatis and social mobilities, and then we talk about the Manusmriti laid down the duties of the Chandals. Then after that we talk about the gender access to the property, in which the women, they could not claim a share of the resources. Then varnas and access to property. Now we talk about an alternative social scenario, sharing of wealth. Within ancient Tamil Nadu. In ancient Tamil Nadu, where men who were generous were respected, while those who were miserly or simply accumulated wealth for them were disrespected. In Tamil Nadu, where there were several chiefdoms around 2000 years ago, the chiefs were patrons of bards. Bards were the tribal poet. They were the singers as well as the composers also, and poet who sang songs in praise of them. Poem included in Tamil Sangam anthologies often illuminate social and economic relationship. While there were differences between rich and poor, those who control resources were also expected to share them. Then social contract, that means social differences according to Buddhist theory. The Buddhists also develop an alternative understanding of social equality. Sutta Pitaka suggests that originally human beings lived in an idyllic state of peace, taking from nature only what they needed for each meal. However, there was a gradual deterioration of this status as humans become increasingly greedy, vindictive, and decisive. They wanted to select a leader who should be strong. The leader who is selected should ensure protection of the people and should banish the criminal who deserve to be banished. For his service, we will give him a portion of the rice. The leader, that means they are talking about the taxes. They will agree to pay the taxes. The leader who is chosen by the whole people could be known as Mahasamata, the great elect. They suggest that the institution of kingship was based on human choice, with taxes as a form of payment for services rendered by the king. At the same time, it revealed recognition of human agencies in creating and institutionalizing economic and social relations. Now, understanding of historical significance of Mahabharata. First of all, we talk about the language. The original version of Mahabharata is in Sanskrit. Although there are other languages as well, however, the Sanskrit used in Mahabharata is far simpler than that of Vedic Sanskrit. Content. Historians classify the content of Mahabharata under two broad heads: narrative and didactic. Sections that contain stories were designated as the narrative. Sections that contain social norms are designated as didactic. This division is by no means watertight. That means the didactic section includes some stories and the narrative often contains some social messages. Now, authors. The original story was probably composed by the charioteers bards known as the Sutas, who generally accompanied Kshatriya warriors to the battlefield and composed poems celebrating their victories and their achievements. These compositions circulate orally, that means there were no written records. Then, from 5th century BC, Brahmins took over the story and began to commit it to writing. This was a time when Mahajanpadas, such as those of the Kurus and Panchalas, around whom the story of the epic revolves, were gradually becoming kingdom. Between 200 BC and 200 CE, when the worship of Vishnu was growing in importance and Krishna, one of the important figure of the epic, was coming to be identified as an incarnation of Vishnu. Between 200 and 400 CE, large didactic sections resembling the Manusmritis were added. Within the addition are texts which initially perhaps had less than 10,000 verses grew to comprise about 1 lakh verses. This enormous composition is traditionally attributed to a sage named Vyas. Date of Mahabharata. The original story was probably composed by the charioteers bard known as Sutas and circulated by story orally for many decades. Between 200 and 400 CE, large didactic section resembling the Manusmriti was added in Mahabharata. Between 200 BC and 200 CE, when the worship of Vishnu was growing in importance and Krishna, one of the important figure of the epic, was coming to be identified as an incarnation of Vishnu. The search for convergence or finding historical truth from archaeology. That means B.B. Lal's excavation and finding in Hastinapur. In 1951 to 52, the archaeologist B.B. Lal excavated a village named Hastinapur in Meerut, UP. We are not sure that this was the Hastinapur of the epic or the name are coincidental. B.B. Lal found evidences of 5 occupation levels in Hastinapur, of which the second and third are important. B.B. Lal noted about the house in the second phases. There were no definite plan of house found. The walls were made up of mud and mud bricks. The discovery of mud plaster with prominent reed marks suggested that some of the houses had reed walls plastered over with mud. In the third phase, P.B. Lal noted houses of this period were built of mud bricks as well as burnt bricks. Showcase jar and brick drain were used for draining out refuse water. Terracotta ring well may have been used as well and drainage pit. Whether the description of the city in the epic added after the main narrative had been composed or it was flight of poetic fancy, which cannot always be verified by comparisons with other kind of evidences. One of the most challenging episodes in the Mahabharata is Draupadi's marriage with the Pandavas, an instance of polyandry that is central to the narrative. Present day historians suggest that polyandry may have been prevalent amongst ruling elites at some point of time in Indian subcontinent. Another fact suggests that polyandry gradually fell into disfavor amongst the Brahmins, who reworked and developed the text through the centuries. Some historians noted that while the practice of polyandry may have seemed unusual or even undesirable from the Brahmical points of view, it was prevalent in Himalayan region. It was or it is prevalent in Himalayan region. Others suggest that there may have been a shortage of women during time of warfare and this led to polyandry. In other words, it was attributed to a situation of crisis. Some early sources suggest that polyandry was not the only or even the most prevalent form of marriage. We need to remember that creative literature often has its own narrative requirements and does not always literally reflect social realities but just used to create interest for readers. Mahabharata is a dynamic text. The growth of the Mahabharata did not stop with the Sanskrit version. Over the centuries, versions of the epics were written in a variety of languages through an ongoing process of dialogues between people, communities, and those who wrote the texts. Several stories that originated in specific regions or circulated among a certain people find their way into the epic. At the same time, the central story of the epic was often retold in different ways. Episodes of Mahabharata were depicted in sculpture and paintings. They also provided themes for a wide range of performing art, plays, dance, and other kind of narration. So, we have completed the third chapter. That's all for today. Thank you.